All right, welcome everybody to tonight's chat, the Friday Fish Room Live that we've got going on tonight. This is Rick with BamAquatics here. I got Brandon here with me, Maple Street Aquatics. We're just going to hang out here in the fish room a little bit, talk to some of you guys.
How are you guys doing? Mountaintop Fish in the house already. What's going on, Mountaintop Fish? Yeah, like Rick said, we're just Friday Fish Room Friday #1. We're gonna try to do this on a weekly basis and give you guys updates on what's going on in the fish room, so that sort of thing. Get a chance to hang out with some of you people here in the chat, some fish fam love. So we do have some topics generated.
Hey, Peter, good to have you here.
What's up, Mob Guppy? Thanks for joining us.
So we appreciate everybody being here tonight. We're just kind of going to hang out here and talk about what's going on in our fish rooms and maybe what we're going to do next and some things like that. So we're glad to have a few people in the house tonight. Mountaintop's resting.
That's a good thing to do on a Friday night. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, we got 7 viewers here, so I guess we'll go ahead and get started. So my fish room this week, I've kind of taken a little bit of almost a break, not from the fish room, but from really adding anything to the fish room right now. I've been doing a lot of talking with a lot of different people about what I want to do, which we're going to talk about in a little while. But as far as actually adding anything or doing anything like that, the only thing I actually added this week was actually some of the snails from Mountaintop. I mentioned that, I think, on the chat last night. But he sent me some snails that are native up to his neck of the woods up in Sevierville, Tennessee, and put those in a tank. And those are doing well. I put them in, and they kind of got a little skittish and kind of went to their own corners of the tank. But now they're back out again. I looked a little bit earlier to see, and they're all back out and active. So they made it Mountaintop, and they're doing good. So I really appreciate that.
Good deal. Yeah, that's kind of funny you say that, Rick, because so you got some snails from Mountaintop's neck of the woods, and actually tomorrow in my fish room I'm going to be adding some snails from your neck of the woods. They actually are native down there in the south, so that's kind of a funny coincidence there. And I see we have Fancy Tail Aquatics in the chat. Thanks for joining us. Catching me on my beer night, sneaky fish love. So, thanks for being here. So yeah, as far as my fish room goes, not a whole lot's changed this week. I did clear. I have a 29-gallon tank down here under these 20s that I cleared out in anticipation of these new snails. And these new snails are Bama maculata snails, and they're kind of like a Florida apple snail, I guess, is the common name for them. They get pretty good size. They get, I hear, like ping pong ball size to almost tennis ball size. And I'm getting those from a local club member, my local club. I'm going to try to breed them out and get them back into the club. So distribute them a little bit with club members. Try to do that. So that's probably the most interesting thing that's happening with my fish room this week. I did pull a filter off of this tank back here, this 90. And kind of one reason I did that was to slow the flow down in the tank. I had 2 big hang-on backs on both sides of the tank, and it was pretty turbulent in there. Made it real hard for the little guppies and stuff to swim around. Probably wasn't possible for eyes. So I am going to start chucking more culls in this big 90, and then if they're willing to breed, then I kind of want to facilitate that. So slowed the flow down with removal of the filter, added some Java moss, some guppy grass. So I'll try to get some more fish in that tank. I think that 90-gallon would look pretty cool if it had a whole bunch of fish in it.
Yeah, I think you're right, Brandon. That would look pretty cool. I've got a tank where I'm going to start throwing some of the culls from too. I'm going to see what happens in that tank. Jokingly told somebody I may call it the Bama brood, the Bama brood of fish or something like that. I don't know.
That's a good one. Yeah, I seen Mountaintop said he would like some of those. Yeah, they're pretty they're pretty interesting snails from what I can tell. They do have some regulations on them though. You can't move them across state lines. You're not supposed to sell them and ship them out of state. So I did have I did have to pass quite a stringent criteria to be able to get these snails and to do this little project. But yeah, they're a little tough to get a hold of. Other than if maybe you're Rick down in Alabama, you can go out somewhere and find them locally. Maybe we can convince Rick into that. I'm doing some research earlier and found that Mobile, Alabama seems to have a population of them down there. So maybe we can get Rick out there to collect some of those puppies. What do you think about that, Rick?
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I'd like to go to Mobile, Alabama anyway. That's right down near the beach. So that'd be a good place to go visit and catch some snails maybe and spend a little time on the beach. That'd be nice. So you've got some contraband snails, it sounds like, Brandon.
Well, they're not necessarily contraband, and they're legal in the state, but you got to watch what you do. You know, I had to agree that when I take possession of the snails, and if I get them to breed, I'm not going to start selling them to everybody throughout the U.S. So I have to give a certain percentage back to the club for the deal, and then I will be left with some, and I'm sure I can get them out there and get some more people onto them, and you know, but like I said, there's some regulations. You can't ship them out of state, and they can't cross state lines, so that's gonna knock it down. But fortunately enough, I do know quite a few local fish fam here in Indiana, so we can at least get them a little more popular down here in Indiana.
Yeah, Fancy Tail here asked, Scott asked what, he hadn't seen your fish room before, so what do you mostly keep, Brandon?
Yeah, sure. I mostly keep live bears. I do have some fish that aren't live bears, but most of this rack here is 20 long, just with the exception of a 29 that's down here. And yeah, guppies. Every tank's got guppies in it. I try mixing it up. I mix guppies and platies together because they can't interbreed. And then what I'll do is if some of my tanks, let's see, I got guppies and swordtails up there. So, because if you know anything about libraries, you know that platies and swordtails can interbreed, and they claim that mollies and guppies can interbreed. So I try to stagger the tanks to where I can keep the most amount of different species in the same tanks and not have to worry about inbreeding. So, you know, I got guppies and swordtails, guppies and platies, and I don't really have a whole lot of mollies. Over here, I kind of exclude that law. I kind of just put everything in this tank, but some wild colored swordtails, some May-eye swordtails up there, some continent swordtails, more wild colored type swordtails back there. There's some Celebes half-beaks in this tank, pair in here. There are some marigold core swordtails from someplace online. I can't remember the name of it. Tropical something. More platies and guppies down there. So I have a few different breeds of guppies. I got red deltas and some half red pintails. I have like a blue flame tails. And then I have the mutt tanks. Over here in this 90, I got about everything: mollies, platies, swordtails, and guppies, along with some zebra danios, white cloud mountain minnows. There's snails in every tank. So upstairs I have angelfish, a pair of angelfish, some black striped barbs, blue diamond tetras, Chinese algae eaters, bristlenose plecos. I got bristlenose plecos all over down here. Super reds, lemon drop long fins, albinos, albino long fins, and some regular bristlenose. And yeah, killifish, golden panchaks killifish, bunch of neocardinia shrimp, a lot of the clear, kind of wild colored neocardinas I got breeding up here, and then I got some yellow neocardinas from LRB, and purple Moscows. We've got some endlers down there, some blue and red endlers. And I do have in this tank, Bam, but you do not know, and I'm surprised you didn't know. You must not watch my fish room tours, but we are Gadiads down in this tank, and that is how you pronounce it. I forgot to run that past you here when we were prepping for this, but I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe the correct pronunciation is Gadiads, and they are Xenotaka diadri from location San Marcos, trio down there. And yeah, that's it so far. So there's more coming. Hopefully some oddballs. I'm going to get some oddball stuff. I don't know what. I'd like to get some more Celebes, half-beaks. Maybe not Celebes, but there's plenty of different other kinds of half-beaks. I'd like to get some of those and some stuff you don't see a lot. I like stuff you don't catch a lot around your local fish store. So I hope that answers that question. That was probably a little long-winded, but
well, you ran the gamut anyway, I think.
What's that?
You said you ran the gamut anyway, I think. I think you pretty much named off every species you have in your tank. So I think we should have got everybody pretty much caught up on that. Yeah, the Dodrii. Is that how you say that? That's
Diadri.
Diadri?
Diadri, I believe. I could be wrong. That's how I hear it.
How's the O and A in there, Brandon? What would that say? That sound like Dodrii? I don't know. Just kidding.
You got me.
But anyway, I'm looking to possibly get some of those too. They're pretty cool looking fish. As far as sort of getting into things we want to add. Before we do that, let's see who's in the chat. Let's take a look at that. It's been a minute.
Sure.
Got Redneck Aquatics here. Got Vinosky Tanks. There's Top Secret Aquatics in the house. Mountain Top, of course, is still here. Redneck Aquatics. Scott Fancy Tail still here. So I don't know if Peter's still here or not. He's kind of gone back into the watch mode if he is. We got 11 people here though, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. Looks like some of the usual suspects. Appreciate all you guys hanging out with us, giving us your support. If there's anything you'd like to ask us or see of us, I don't know about Bam, but I can be mobile here in the fish room if you want to see some certain fish that I may have just rambled off. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to ask us questions. We're open to that.
Yeah, not that we'll have all the answers, but we're open to you asking the questions anyway.
That's right. Good disclosure there. We're definitely not professionals or biologists by any means, but we know what we got going on here. We know what works for us, and that's worth something.
That is worth something. I bet they never would have guessed that we're not biologists or professionals. If you didn't tell them.
Now, I just want to with full disclosure, just so everyone knows. May not be biologists.
Yeah, Mountaintop said he looked at his guppies last night and he had a nice, a light blue male. Looks like here. That's nice. Pretty cool, Mountaintop.
Yeah, I like blues or purples and guppies.
Redneck Aquatics likes his angelfish, so he likes your angelfish that you've got going on.
I could take you up there and show you those.
Hey, we haven't seen that tank yet.
I know, and I was kind of holding off on it, but if you guys are pushing me,
I mean, we don't want to twist your arm.
Well, let's see. Let's wait. Let's give it a few minutes here and see if there's anyone in the chat that's interested besides Redneck, or even if Redneck's interested. Yeah, a few people say something, I might stroll up there, let you check them out.
Yeah, Learning to Fish Keep just joined in here.
Thanks for being here, Learning to Fish Keep. What is up with you? We're just hanging out on a Friday night here.
Yeah, Redneck here said he just got a new bushy nose. He's a male and he doesn't know what kind. He did just upload a video of him, and maybe somebody could go over there and help him to ID what that bushy nose is. So somebody go over and help out Redneck there and see what kind of bushy nose he's got. Hey, Melvin, good to have you here.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll head over there. Redneck, you got a little description on like what kind of colors it has, maybe? That should be pretty. There ain't a whole lot of bristlenose out there, unless it's just a combination of something kind of weird. But let us know what color it is, and we'll go from there.
We look like professionals, he says. Well, thanks. We can thank you pretty well, I guess.
We got you guys fooled.
Next year, Scott says his fat albino reds go. He's tired of bent spines in the guppy colony. Well, I don't blame you, Scott.
Yeah, sometimes you got to get some fresh blood in there with the guppies. I don't know how long you've been breeding them, but I know if you line breed them for a while, you'll start, especially if you get some deformities like that, you need to get some fresh blood going, strengthen up the gene pool.
There's Sandy. She just joined us here. She's doing a water change on her 20. The cord cat's got it all stirred up, she said.
Thanks for being here, Sandy. Yeah, cory cats. I don't have no cory cats. Little chill down here in this fish room for cory cats, but I could put some in the upstairs tank. Might have to do that.
There's Valley Fish just joining us too. Thanks, Valley. Got 13 people in the chat now. Let's see, there was something else I saw. Oh, Mountaintop's been keeping fish for about 43 years. So.
Oh, there you go. He's the professional, that's for sure.
Yeah, we need to be talking to him.
Let's get him on the live stream. What do you think about that, Mountaintop? You want to come on the live stream with us and share some of your wisdom?
He's still using his Metaframe 10-gallon, he says.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit before about what we got, what we had been doing in the fish room this week, and I did forget that I did make one purchase. I went ahead and got a 20 long, which I'm planning on doing a little bit of expansion here in the fish room. I have 3 empty 10s that I'm going to be using, and then I'm going to go on and have another rack with some more 10s and probably some 20 long. So I did pick up a 20 long this week. I forgot about that.
Nice. Yeah, that's I'm definitely a fan of 20 longs. I like the footprint. It's nice and wide. Get a lot of air to the top of the tank, so they all breathe real good. And they're short tanks too, so they work out good for sort of fish that me and you like to keep, little light bearers mostly. I did see in the chat that Redneck Aquatics says that bristlenose he has is kind of brown with some green spots. And if it's kind of brown with some green spots and doesn't have no real elaborate long fins or coloration on the fins, probably looking at just a regular bristlenose. We got 3 or 4 in this tank down here, and that's kind of what they look like. They look like kind of a camo pattern almost, like a brown and a light green and an olive, sort of all kind of mixed and splotchy together. So that'd be my guess. Probably just a standard bristlenose, standard color.
Let's see. Scott says he's going to get 4 20 highs this weekend to add. He likes the 20 highs for breeding himself, he says.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Those are good tanks. That's a popular tank. I mean, you got a 10-gallon and a 20-gallon high. Those are probably the most popular tanks of all time. Definitely nothing wrong with the 20 high.
One reason I chose the 20 longs is the particular shelving unit that I'm getting can hold like 4 10s turned on their side, or turned, with a short end facing out, or either a 20 long pretty easily. So that's kind of the reason I chose that on the shelving unit I was looking at. So that's why I made that choice. It wasn't necessarily any huge decision being made on what will breed them the best or anything like that. It's what would fit, basically. And it does work well for the smaller fish that I've been breeding so far, and the fish that I'm bringing in aren't going to be huge fish either. So, anyway,
yeah,
some busybody over at Sandy's house. The busybody Corridora's there. She's got albinos and emeralds. And Redneck loves the cory cats, and I do too. I haven't got many though. That's one thing. I do have some panda cories in my community tank in the other room. I'm going to get some pepper cories from Susan with SLC. She's got some when I go down there Friday. But I'd like to add several other little colonies of cories and see if I can get any of those to breed out too. That's another little project I'm probably going to work on over the winter probably.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good deal. I like cories. They're cute little fish. Kind of fun to watch dance around on their little noses. They look pretty fast too. A lot of them I see are pretty quick. Said Mountaintop Fish said he bred some Corridoras a long time ago. 20-gallon long is a good size. 20-gallon highs are good tanks too. They're not as long. You can cram them in there together. You can make more tanks in your fish room with a 20 long than you can a 20, or a 20 high than you can a 20 long. But yeah, they all got their advantages and disadvantages.
And that's exactly what Scott just said. He said he preferred the highs because of the size. It has less of a footprint. So he's with you on that.
Yep, absolutely. That's definitely something to keep in mind when you're trying to design or put a fish room together. You know, you want to lay it out right, and you can get more tanks in with 20 high, no doubt.
Mob Guppy Peter says the cories are addictive fish, just like plecos.
Yeah, I can imagine they are.
Peter, I think fish are just addictive. I don't know if it's just cories or just plecos. I think that once you, I've mentioned getting bit by the fish bug, and I think once that happens, there's no hope for you. There's no cure, I'm afraid, for that.
Yeah, we got Hawaiian Peacock in the house. What is up, brother?
Hey, man, I haven't got to watch his video yet, but I was upset because I saw where he put on there that he was done with guppies.
Ah. Yeah, I was just watching his live stream, and I think he was just playing a little bit. I don't think he's done with guppies, but yeah, he's got some nice stuff over there.
Yeah, I haven't got to watch it yet, but I just saw his little title page there, and it said he was done with guppies. So you've got me on the edge of my seat. So when we're done here, I'm gonna have to go check it out.
Yeah, he's got some nice tanks over there. He's got some real good looking tanks there. Peacock.
And I love the outside look he had going on there. That might have been what happened. I hadn't checked in on that in a little bit, but where he'd added some to the outside, his little, it's almost like a fountain, the little water feature outside. So that might have been what happened. I'm going to check it out, though.
Oh, no, he just called it out in the chat. He said it was a lure. He done hooked you with the lure. That's what it was. Yeah. You probably weren't the only one.
Yeah, I tell you, you got me hooked. So I'm going to be checking it out. I'm learning from you. We were talking about not being professionals. So we got to have some professionals in the chat to help us out and get us some good ideas, right?
That's right. We better write that one down on the list there, Rick. We're going to lure people with tricky wordplay. That works good.
I tried just a little bit of that last night with my spooky story that I did before my live stream, you know. So I don't know. I kind of got a little bit of that, but I didn't quite have it down like he's got it, though. Let's see what we got going on. What else we got happening here? It's like a banjo minnow, he says. Fancy Tale Scott says, I learned from a guy I bought a bunch of bristle nose, but sold me bushy nose. Still stuck with what the difference is.
Yeah, I don't think there is a difference. I think that's just the way people talk about them. I'm pretty sure bristle nose and a bushy nose is the same thing. It's just different description. That's my understanding.
And that's what I thought too. I think, you know, the bushy nose part of it might be more when they mature, possibly because they get the bristles kind of up on top. And I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not, but I thought they were the same too. But what do I know?
No, yeah, I'd say you're right, Rick. I mean, bristles and scruffy, bushy on your nose kind of look like the same thing. So, yeah, they're definitely the same thing.
Let's see. Redneck here said he's going to be getting ready to move in February, so he's looking for tanks in his area that that just resealed the 20 long. I had that video out. I've got a 30 and 29 that aren't even set up yet.
Yeah, I like personally, I like going out and finding tanks around here. I look on Facebook Marketplace, you get on Craigslist, and I like to pay like 50 cents a gallon for tanks. And I think that's what Redneck Aquatics is saying. And I'm in the same zone. I go out and buy like I bought a 55 gallon tank for like $25, and it needs resealed. So I don't mind resealing tanks. It's a little bit of work, but you know, you can buy 2 tubes of clear silicone from the hardware store for $5, $6, $8, and turn a 25 gallon or $25 55 gallon, you know, 30 some bucks. You got yourself 55 gallon. That's a good deal. I like doing that.
Yeah, you got that right. That's a good video for you to do later on. Show us how you're sealing that tank.
Yep. Also had, I mean, it's a good thing to learn how to do too. I also had a 20 long in here that I noticed on the floor. I kept having water and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And finally figured it out that the tank was leaking. It just had a real slow leak in it. So I drained it and cut it all out and resealed it. And it's definitely, if you haven't resealed the tank, definitely something you should try doing, because it's a good learning experience, and it can open you up to, if you don't have a whole lot of money, you want to build a fish room on a budget. You know, nice and cheap way of getting some fish tanks in your fish room.
Yeah, Redneck says he's got a crap load of sponge filters he's cycling up where he can get ready to put those other tanks to use. So
that's good. You're ahead of the game then. That's what you want to. You want to stay ahead of the game with sponge filters and always keep a few cycling in the process. That way you're ready to throw some tanks up. Makes it real easy process there. That's good. Bob Guppy says Ray Liotta is inspiring me to smoke. Yeah, I like Ray Liotta. He's a good actor. He's been in some good movies. I like Goodfellas. That's a real good movie.
he is a good actor. He seems to smoke in every movie that he's ever in, though. Like, that just goes with the characters he plays.
He's always the bad guy too. So when you're the bad guy, you got.
Yeah, I don't know if he smokes in real life or not, but he seems to pull it off pretty well in the movies.
No, I think he does. I've seen a commercial, and this might be what he's Mob Guppy's referring to. He's got like a commercial or something. He's advocating that something helped him quit smoking, one of these products that they got out. So yeah, I think he definitely smoked in real life, and he's inspiring Mob Guppy to smoke.
Well, lucky for me, I smoked in real life too, but I quit a long time ago. So I think that was a pretty wise decision on my part. But
absolutely, I did the same. Yeah, life's much better without cigarettes. Yeah, Hawaiian Peacock said the hardest part is scraping off the old silicone. It does suck. It wears your fingers out. I use flat blade razor blades, but yeah, it kind of sucks getting in there, especially if you got a tank where somebody tried repairing over top of some old silicone and they get that stuff everywhere. It can take some time. Mountaintop Fish says he built 3 tanks with the glass he bought from a t-shirt shop for $1 a piece. Nice. That's good. That's some cheap tanks right there.
that's what I was about to say. Those are some bargain tanks for real.
Yeah, definitely saving the budget there. That's good. Put that money somewhere else.
A razor blade party, why Big Huck says.
Yeah. Rick, do all your tanks have clear silicone on them?
They do.
Yeah, see, I got a couple that got black silicone on them, and I kind of like that black silicone. If you can get it on nice and straight, you got to be able to get it on nice and straight. If you get it on and it kind of swirly, the clear usually hides a little better. But a little tip that I do when I reseal my tanks is I take like some painter's tape, and I'll tape on the inside edge about a 1/4 inch in where I want the seam to be, the edge of the silicone. Do that on both sides and all the way around. And it takes a little time to tape it off, but once you silicone it and smooth it out with your finger, you can come back and peel that painter's tape off, and you got nice straight edges. And I don't think there's nothing better looking than a 20 long, black painted back, black sides, black caulk. That's a good looking tank right there. Good for taking pictures and videos of fish too.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've got to work on. You can see behind me here that I don't have anything behind my tanks. You can see all the wires and the things like that. So that's a project too that I'm going to work on, is getting the backs. I don't know, like I mentioned before, but I may use just some poster board or construction paper or something like that and see how that works. I heard somebody mention they did that. I know you can paint them, but I don't know if I want to try to get behind there and paint them without moving them and all that. So I don't know. I'm going to do something though, so you can't just see through them like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes it a lot easier to pick fish out too when you have a dark background.
Yeah, Hawaiian Peacock says, don't forget to like the live feed. Thanks, Hawaiian Peacock. Appreciate that. Learning to Keep Fish said he uses poster board on the backs of his tanks. Well, it may have been something I saw on some of your videos maybe that was talking about that then. I don't know. I don't remember. But so that's what I'm going to try. So I'm going to try that here. Probably coming up pretty soon. So that'll probably be a little video I might do later on.
Yeah, that's a nice easy alternative too, because if you don't like the color, you can pull it off. And see guys use different colors too, and it's just a matter of finding that different paper and taping it on. So yeah, a lot easier than painting them, especially if you got the tanks already set up like you do, Rick. Be pretty easy to put some paperboard on the back there as opposed to trying to paint them now, fish in them.
Yeah, it seems like once you got the paper cut the right size, you could use that as a template and kind of use it to cut the others, and it probably wouldn't be too hard. These tanks all being 10s at least to do that without a whole lot of problem, you know. Learning to Keep Fish, how do you secure that to the back of your tanks?
Say Valley Fish says he also paints the front of the glass top down 1.5 inches to block the water lines. That's a good idea.
Cool.
I never
thought about that.
I know some of them fancier tanks, like the combination tanks, like the I believe Fluval makes them. They have like across the top of the tank, they have a section that's like 1.5 inches or so thick that's kind of frosted glass, so that you don't get that. You know, when you get a tank that runs low and then you run low for a long time, it'll get kind of a calcium line, and then it'll get chalky looking. And they frost the top of their tank so you don't see that. I thought that's a pretty neat idea.
I agree 100%. Yeah, Scott says Plastidip, and I've heard people that use that Plastidip a lot to do that on the back of their tanks, and I think that would be a great alternative if I'd done that before I put these tanks over here. I don't know how easy it'd be to get behind there though, so that's the reason. Probably somewhat my laziness too. Not that I'm lazy completely, but if there's an easier way to do something though, then sometimes I might do that if it's still just as good at least. And so hopefully I can do it maybe that way. But Plastidip's a great idea.
It is, yeah, because that Plastidip, you can peel that right off too if you don't like it or want to change color. Hey, JCP Aquatics in the house. What's up, Jay? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody coming in here. We're just kind of talking about whatever comes to mind. One YouTuber puts puzzles on the back. There's the aquariums. Hadn't heard anything out of them on this chat yet, but that's a pretty cool idea. Just make a puzzle, put a puzzle together and glue it and put it on the back, huh?
Yeah, that is a good idea. And thanks for being here, D Aquariums. If you watch any of my videos, I got a tank up here that's got some posters. When I went to Michigan Aquarium Society's fall auction and show, Lucas Bretz was there. He had a table set up on the swap meet, and he had a bunch of free advertising, I guess. They're like little paper kind of backgrounds that have, you know, some have guppies and endlers, some have LRB on it, and I got him to sign one of those. I took a couple of those, and I got that on the background of this 20 long up here, and yeah, so and pretty much anything you can think of to put on the back of the tank. Posters, pictures, all sorts of stuff. I got a pretty cool old vintage looking picture over here I was thinking about putting on the back of the tank, but I might do that still. So the opportunities are endless.
That's right. We got a couple of more ideas here. Wyatt Peacock says he's done both, used paint and poster paper, but he uses a credit card and water and just squeegees it off with a credit card to take the air bubbles out, kind of like putting on tint. So is that, you're doing that with like poster paper? And it stays, I guess, with the water that you've used?
Yeah, that makes sense. I imagine if you got the paper wet and you put it up there and squeegeed it on, it probably would stick. Work the air bubbles out of it.
Yeah, and Sandy says she puts artificial plants from Dollar Tree behind the tanks. I guess in between the tank and like your different airlines and cords and all that, I guess, to hide that, right? That's a good idea too.
It is a good idea. Well, there you go, Rick. Now you can get you some construction paper and get your credit card and get it wet and squeegee them on the back there. That's a pretty good idea. You don't even got to tape them. Probably stays nice. It's got to stay nice and tight to the tank too. Like, you know, the suction of the water and the force from the little squeegee motion would keep her tight on the tank. That's pretty slick there, Hawaiian Peacock. I like that idea.
That is a good idea. I may have to try that on some. I may try the little plant thing too. That's kind of a neat idea. The different kind of backgrounds, you know, it kind of gives you a little variety there.
Yep. Speaking of plants, I was thinking about getting some of that. Have you ever heard of that pothos plant? It's like it's not a submerged plant. It grows out of the aquarium, but you can keep the roots in the aquarium. I thought about doing that in this fish room here. Have you ever thought of that, Rick?
I have thought about that. I actually saw some videos on that, and I don't know what you put in the aquarium. Around here, we put roots in there, but I guess you have your roots that you put in yours. Just joking about a difference in the way we say that coming from different areas of the country. To hear it's roots, but it's a little different. We have to make everything 2 or 3 syllables for it to make any sense to us. So, but I have thought about that actually, Brandon. And I don't know. I haven't done it yet, but I've heard that it's really good for your nitrates. That it helps a lot with the nitrates, and you can kind of just drape the vine around the fish room. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it is exactly. And Hawaiian Peacock agrees. Yeah, it's there's a local restaurant in town here that's got one of those plants growing, and it's like 50 foot long. It like wraps around the whole dining room of the restaurant. So I thought that'd be cool to start it out maybe on a low tank and then work it up and try to vine it out and get it wrapping around the stands. I think that'd be a nice little decoration in the fish room, and also work on the water quality. We got Aquafunk in the house. What's up, Aquafunk?
How about that? Good to have you with us.
Oh, we gotta read what he put. He says, "What is up? Are you funk nasty fish keeping funkadelics?" Those are some good words there, Aquafunk. Thanks for being here, buddy.
I got lots of F's in that. Oh yeah. So several people said yeah that the pothos plant works great. Mountaintop, Sandy, Hawaiian Peacock. All these guys like that. Got them on my African cichlid tanks, $8 at Home Depot. Okay, there we go. Peacock got us the hookup.
That's not bad. How far is the Home Depot from you, Rick?
It's pretty close. I live in a town that it's not a huge town, but we've got most of your basics, you know, like a Home Depot, Walmart, Lowe's, you know, all those kind of places. So it's probably a couple of miles.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I think the closest Home Depot here is probably about 25 miles from here, but that's still not bad. Redneck sent him over. Good deal, Redneck. Thanks for sending Aquafunk over here. It's all good people. You got the fish fam strong going tonight here in the house.
You do. We got 16 here with us right now, so that's awesome.
Yeah. So, Rick, speaking of plants that are good on nitrates, I wanted to ask you, I didn't really get a chance to talk to you last time about this, but when you do water changes, how frequently do you do water changes, and at what percentage do you change your water? Also, I'm pretty sure you use Prime, but do you use any other water conditioners, and what do you use to fertilize your plants? I'm just kind of curious on that.
Yeah, well, when I do water changes, I do them at least once a week. I try to do them a little bit more frequently than that. I can't say that I get them twice a week, but, you know, probably a little bit more frequently than once a week. Maybe every 5 days or something like that, I try to do a water change, you know, whenever I can get to it based on my schedule. But you're right, I use Prime to do that. But I do about 20%. I kind of came up with a little system that I use, which is just for me because I have all these 10-gallon tanks in this room. So I tried to position the thermometers in about exactly the same level. And so I know when I use my Python, which is what I'm using to do my water changes now, which makes things a whole lot easier. If you hadn't watched the video, I've got a video on that. All you guys probably do that already, but if you don't, check that out because that's a lifesaver. But yeah, I do about 20%, which I go down to about where it gets down to the little green line on the thermometer, and I know that I'm in that range where I've got about 20% out. And that's kind of how I judge it. Just get it down to that level, just to a dummy-proof way, to sort of get it to the level I want.
Sure. And what about so when you do, you said you use a Python. Do so you run that right off your faucet? Do you drain the water down, and then how do you put the prime and the fertilizer in then, and then fill the water up, or is that how you do that?
I do. What I used to do is I'll go ahead and put the drain the water out to where I want it, and then I'll go ahead and dose my prime into each tank, and then I come right behind it. I usually do all the tanks, then come right behind it with just the water out of the tap. Here in the South, usually the tap water is at least as warm as the tanks in the summertime and in the spring and the fall. Until we get to wintertime, I can use just the regular cold tap water, which is not very cold, and I just use that to add it back to the tank. So,
gotcha.
And I don't dose the fertilizers. You ask about the fertilizers, and I don't use any other water conditioners either. Occasionally, if I have some fish that seem stressed out, or if I see that something might be a little bit wrong, I might add a little stress coat to the tank. That's usually my first step in seeing if the fish are just sort of stressed out for whatever reason. Maybe they're being picked on that day or something. I don't know. Maybe the bully's after them. But if I see something that seems a little off, I'll start with a little stress coat, maybe put some of that in there. But that's basically all I use for water conditioner. I really haven't had any problems with any disease of any kind, really, which has been great. I know at some point I will. I'm sure everybody does, and I have no doubt that I will. But I've been pretty lucky so far with that. But as far as the fertilizer, I just use the Easy Green from Aquarium Co-op, and it seems to do pretty good. My tanks are not high-tech by any means. I have no CO2, nothing like that. And they all grow really well and are really healthy. You can see behind me they're really green, and the Java moss and the water wisteria is what I primarily have in these tanks right now. And they all do good. So that's basically what I do. It's pretty simple, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. What do you do with your water changes and all, Brandon?
Yeah, so yeah, I don't use the Python like you do. I know I got this little hillbilly water change set up here, but yeah, I go around and I do probably about a 30%. I take these 20 longs down to about there, which I assume is about 30%. And I don't normally gravel vac that often. I might gravel vac maybe a little bit, maybe like one water change a month. I might gravel vac. I do water changes every week. I do them on the weekends, normally Saturdays. But usually I'll just stick the water in there and suck off the top and try not to pull nothing out of the gravel. I'll try to leave that stuff going on down there in the gravel for the plants. It seems to work out better for the plants that I got, the rooted plants or the stem plants that I'm growing. But yeah, I suck about 30% of the water out, and then I got a faucet over here, and I use prime too. And what I do is I just dose it right in the tank for the amount of water that I took out. And at the same time, I will do my fertilizer. I use Seachem, Flourish, and Excel, and I probably dose with that. I usually do that every other week, so twice a month. And yeah, I got a little carbon inline water filter on my faucet over there, and that's it's straight tap water here. It's pretty hard water around here. It's I think it's like over 250 TDS on the hardness, and pH is real close to 7.9, 8.0. So definitely pretty hard water, but all the fish I got are hard water fish anyway, so they're all happy. And yeah, I usually when I do my water changes, I'll start with when I start filling back up, I'll start with the 90. That way I can get the water running and give it a chance to adjust temperature wise. Being this is such a bigger tank than the rest, if I'm off a few degrees, it won't hold it as bad. It's a lot less throwing the temperature off that way. And once I get the temperature right out in the sweet spot, I'll start kinking the hose and just going along and filling the tanks. So that's pretty much how I do my water changes. I know Rick said something about he was lucky he ain't had a whole lot of disease to deal with, medicating his fish or stuff like that. Me, on the other hand, I've battled out a couple of pretty nasty cases of ick, and I use IckX to deal with that. But yeah, I bought some cheap fish from a chain store, kind of when I first got started, and had some ick, hit pretty hard before I got my whole quarantine program down, and took care of that. But yeah, that ick X is some pretty good stuff, and that's what I use. I do also have erythromycin and general cure. Normally, if I get fish in and I put them in quarantine, most of my fish I get come from hobbyists, so they're pretty healthy fish. If I get some fish from the local fish store or some other places, and I throw them in the quarantine tanks and they start getting something like that, I'll usually go ahead and just dose all three. I'll do the ICX, the erythromycin, and the general cure, and I'll just do that in like a 10 or a 5-gallon tank, so I'm not using a whole lot of chemicals. Keep it kind of efficient, and that's how I deal with sickness, and it's worked good for me so far. I've turned some nasty ick fish around in about a week or so, a little over a week, and got them healthy, breeding, having babies, so working through that. But yeah, that pretty much it's pretty much the rundown on how I do water changes and take care of sick fish.
Yeah.
Rick, you want to talk about I know we haven't talked a whole lot about this, but how you acclimate your fish in your fish room?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Just going to go back to the chat for a minute and kind of see what's going on. If you want, we can do that first.
No, yeah, let's hit the chat up. See if there's anything happening here with the people.
Yeah. Break it up into several pieces.
Oh, is Wildcat here? Oh, Wildcat, what is up, Wildcat Aquatics? Thanks for being here, buddy.
Came by to give us a little love and give us a view. Trying to see if anybody else joined us. Wildcats, I think he's the only one that joined us, but yeah, they were talking about. I think Aquafunk just got off with one fish, two fish off the phone with her. I believe I saw them at the aquatic experience. So anyway, trying to make us all jealous.
Yeah.
But she's doing good. She was having eating at a table at Buffalo Wild Wings with Corey, Joey, Zenzo, JH, and Rachel. So she's there with the all-star team, it sounds like.
Some big names there. But yeah, I want to definitely thank Wildcat Aquatics for showing up. I watched your just watched your update video here this afternoon, and congratulations, Jeremy, on the fish room and getting her put together there. It's looking pretty good, and I'm excited to see what you can put together there. And I know me and Rick have talked about this a little bit. We are going to be looking for some people to come on here and live stream with us, kind of do another collab, and we're going to try to do this weekly, and we'd like to have get a guest on here every once in a while. So Jeremy, if you're interested, get a hold of me or Rick and see if that's something you want to do. We'd love to have you on here. You got a pretty cool little fish room we got started there. So excited to see that going on. See, Mountaintop says he's got good well water, so he just uses it. That's awesome.
That is great.
Okay, Red asking, so are we going to see that angel tank? Well, I guess if you guys want, we go up and take a look at that angel tank.
Scott said he hasn't gravel vacked in about 10 years. So he's got it going good. So he's with you on the no gravel back there. Yeah, Easy Green's the best. Looks like Hawaiian Peacock said he uses it for his plants. That's cool. Yeah, Bob Kaler's Fish Hobby. I'm about to miss him. He joined us too.
Welcome, Bob.
Sometimes you miss people on here, Bob. Sorry about that, bud. He said he was late to class earlier. I remember that now. Well, we're not having class. We're just talking. But yeah, one thing I didn't mention is when I do a water change, I myself do dose for the entire tank with the prime. So if I'm doing a 10-gallon tank, I'll dose for the entire 10 gallons, not just for the part I take out. That's just what I do. And I've heard others do that, but different people have different ways. I think, didn't you say you just dose for the part you took out, Brandon?
I do, yeah. I just dose with what I take out. But if you read the bottle, Prime says you can dose a couple, 2 or 3 times the normal dose, and it's okay. It detoxifies ammonia and nitrates and stuff like that. So I don't see a problem at all of dosing heavy with Prime. It's good stuff. It keeps a lot of people's fish alive for sure. I see Wildcat says he has to take off, and he says he's at work, but he definitely would live stream with us. So that is good news. Jeremy, definitely get a hold of us. Have a good night at work, and we'll catch you soon.
Yeah, anybody else that would like to do a live stream too, get in touch with one of us. My email is BamAquaticsFish@gmail.com. That's pretty easy to remember. And Brandon, you can give them your email if you want, or they can contact you through a video or something.
Yeah, my email is a little more complicated, but I do have it linked up with my channel, but it's bvosborne@centurylink.net. If you can figure that one out. So, but it is, like I said, it is in my channel description. If you hit the contacts or about me page, something like that, you can find the link to my email. And yeah, if you're interested in doing a live stream, being a guest on our live stream, definitely get a hold of one of us, and we'd love to have you guys.
Yeah, I see Raccoon Creek Aquatics made it. He said he's sorry he's late. Well, the party hadn't started till you got here, so you're right on time.
All right, so you, I guess I'm gonna slide this computer off here, and we're gonna go upstairs to that angelfish tank and let Redneck check that out.
That sounds good. I'll just talk to some of the guys while you're moving around there and getting stuff going. Talking a little bit about the gravel back and gravel backing or not gravel backing, I guess is one way to say it. But several say they don't. Sandy said she didn't. Of course, Scott with Fancy Tail said he didn't. Some, unless there's a snail explosion, then you back up the snails. I guess that would work. The aquarium said he uses sand, so that's a little different. Aquafreak doesn't gravel back, but he's got under gravel filters, so that helps to clean up the gravel before you do the water change. So Redneck said he's not gravel backed his tank, his big tank, since he set it up in February. Scott says plop and drop after the bags get to temp. I never acclimate since you were going there. Redneck, I use sand, and he's never done it, never gravel back. So, all right, I'm going to be quiet now, and we're going to look at the angelfish. Go ahead.
Can you see them yet?
Yeah, you're going to have to. Yeah, they're on. Dude.
Okay. Does it trigger when I talk? Does it switch over to me when I'm talking?
Yeah, that's what it does. So you're going to have to talk about them as you show them.
Okay. So this is a marbled angelfish. This is I believe this is the male. It's probably a little bit noisier up here. Hang on a second. Let me turn this fan off here. But yeah, it's kind of a dim lit tank, so you can't really see his color a whole lot. But he's got a lot of silver, and he actually has a little blue in his little bottom tracers there.
Oh, he's coming through really nice, Brandon. It looks a good looking angel.
Yeah, he's a good looking fish. You wouldn't believe what I paid for him. I got him dirt cheap. Got him at a local club. I normally do an auction at the end of every club, and club auction or a meeting, and I picked him up. And then this is I'm hoping is the female. She is
looks like she's a little shy, maybe.
She is. She's a blushing angel. She's got a little blue in her too. You can kind of see it on those bottom little runners on her. Look at them snails in this tank. Them snails are everywhere.
I think I said last time snails are the herpes of fish keeping, and chance.
I got snails all over, man. Yeah, I got some silver mollies in here, some platies, and then you can see these darts. They're fast. Those are the black line darts.
Yeah, you can barely see them. They're moving around so quick.
Yeah, that's why they call them darts. They definitely dart. Man, look at this Java moss here. This stuff's looking cool.
Yeah, I like the way you've got it hooked to that piece of wood there.
Yeah, I like it when you fasten Java moss down, and then it actually starts to grow. It'll start to do what you're seeing here, and it starts kind of reaching up to the top of the tank, and it looks pretty cool. Yeah, these are this is the only tank that I got up and running that I have not had on video. And it's not a real, it ain't nothing special. It's in the hallway here. Don't have very good light on it, but it's got a few of my warmer water species fish in it, even though there is no heater.
I guess you keep your house though about 70 or something like that.
Yeah, we got a wood stove, and it always stays pretty warm up here. Here's a there's a lemon drop longfin right there, pleco, if you can see that. These other fish are making it hard to focus. But yeah, I got 3 of those longfin lemon drop plecos. They're actually all 3 right there. All 3 in camera. And them darts just constantly zipping around the tank.
Yeah, they're beautiful. The darts and the angels there. Well, and the plecos too.
Yeah, they're good looking fish. They're hungry. They think I'm going to feed them. Look at them. They get all, that's how they eat. They get all perpendicular in the water there. They think they're going to get fed, but they ain't.
No, you're fooling them, huh? Yeah, I'm going to be picking up some angels from Susan when I go down. I think either 4 or 6 angels that I'm going to, got a 20-gallon high in another room that I think I'm going to put those in and see how that goes.
There you go. Yeah, that'll work. That's plenty big enough tank for a couple angels. All right, so there you go, Redneck.
That was awesome, Redneck. He said beautiful angel. We got several here. Melvin loves the beautiful angel fish. Raccoon Creek's got a soft spot for angels. Mountaintop. Sandy asked, does anyone have a heavily planted tank? And Mountaintop said he had a heavily planted breeder tank. And Redneck said he thinks he has a heavily planted tank too. So, and that Mountaintop also said he's going to sell some of his white clouds. I'd like to get on that, Mountaintop. That's another one of my fish. I could mark that one off my list if we get together and I get some of those white clouds. So you can text me at that BamAquaticsFish@gmail.com and we'll try to work something out on that, because that's one of the fish I want to add to one of my tanks here.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good deal. I like white clouds. All right, so I'm going to head back down to the fish room.
All right, we'll see you in a minute. Yeah, we were about to start talking about what we do with the fish and how we acclimate them. And as you're getting back situated here, I'm going to, Scott with Fancy Tail said he plops and drops his after the bags get to temp. He never acclimates. He said since we were going there. And then he mentioned that he uses sand also, and he doesn't vacuum his sand. So, Scott, that's basically what I do too. I know there's a couple of different plop and drop sort of methods that you could use, and I use one of them because most of the time my fish are, at least so far, they've been going into their own tanks. So they sort of are in their own quarantine tank from the get-go, most of the fish I've brought in to this point. Now, sometimes I may have some more that I'm going to be bringing in, but most times they have their own tank, and so they're sort of quarantined already. But the way I do it is I will, my plop is I let them get to the temperature of the tank or the room, depending on the bag. If it's a breather bag, of course, I can't put that in the water, but I just let it get to the temperature of the room, which is close to the temperature of the tank. And then I plop them into a net. I don't put the water from wherever they're coming from into the tank. I plop them into the net, and then I drop them in the tank. It's my plop and drop method. If I'm getting some from a local fish store or something like that, and they're not going in their own tank, then I tend to do that a little bit differently, and I will sort of quarantine them and watch them for a little while. I don't keep them in there a month or 2 or 3 weeks. I keep them about a week and see how they do, and then add them to the tank. But I haven't really bought many fish from like a local store like that. I buy some from like a local fish store, like a smaller fish store. But as far as your PetSmart and Petco's, I try not to really buy too many fish from them. I've gotten more to get them from some of you guys and some of the breeders and all. But I do that plop and drop method like that. So Brandon, how do you acclimate your fish?
Yeah, I do the same thing, Rick, and I was just going to show you guys this tank here. I know Sandy asked if anyone has any heavily planted tanks, and I don't know if you consider this heavily planted because there's only well, there's only a handful of plants that are actually planted over there. Some Crypt, Wendeti, and in the middle is an Amazon sword, and then there's some Java fern in there. But there's a ton of duckweed, a ton of water lettuce, a ton of guppy grass, and Java moss in there. So as far as heavily planted tanks go, this is probably one of the tanks that has the majority or most of most plants in it. In my fish room, and you can see just from the top there, it's almost all the way covered in vegetation, growing plants. A lot of my tanks are like that. It's got quite a few plants in it.
Nice looking tanks, Brandon.
That's some pearl weed right there from LRB. I'm excited to see what that stuff does. I've only had that for a few weeks. There's some more plants down here. Pretty heavy tank, pretty heavy planted tank right there. And over here, while I'm down here, there's some half-beaks, some Celebi's half-beaks.
Oh, yeah. I like those.
Those are cool. They're like little pike. But yeah, I do the same thing, pretty much same thing like you say, Rick, for the plop and drop. I did it first when I was acclimating fish. Would hang the bags in the tanks, and then I'd open the bags. And that is a no-no, I've come to find out, because when you do that, if the bags have been shut up for a while, it does something with the oxygen, or if there's a lot of ammonia that builds up in the tanks or in the bags that have been shut up for a while, and there's no oxygen, the pH stays pretty stable. But if you have an ammonia buildup in the bag and then you open the bag to oxygen, it can drastically change the pH. And I lost some fish at first, way back in my fish keeping career from that, and I learned that if you're going to do that, the best way to do it is temperature acclimate them in the water, float them, and then what I do is I get a bucket out in the net and cut the bag or pull a rubber band and dump them in the net, and then put them in the tank. So yeah, plop and drop, same thing, and works good for me.
Yeah, that's basically the way Mob Guppy says he does it the same way. So I think probably there's several of us that use that method. The only time that in recent time that I've done the acclimation, I did drip acclimate some shrimp that I brought in because I wasn't sure what kind of water parameters they were in before. So I did drip acclimate those for a little while, but that's the only time I've done drip acclimation. That's easy for me to say, huh? Drip acclimation in a while. So I usually just do that plop and drop method, and so that's good. Otter Creek Aquatics has made it with us too.
Yeah, welcome, Otter Creek. I see you got a question for me here. Brandon, did you build your stand? I assume you're talking about the rack back here, and yeah, I build all my own racks. Build them out of 2x4s, and I try to kind of reuse some stuff. I got quite a bit of lumber around here, and I like to reuse it and repurpose it. So yeah, I build all my own racks out of 2x4s and use like 3.5-inch deck screws. Put everything together, paint it all up to kind of help seal it all up from the moisture in the water. And not everyone likes to build their own racks. A lot of guys like to buy racks or do whatever. But for me personally, working in a limited space, which I don't have to work in a limited space. I'm trying to work in a limited space on purpose. I want to kind of keep it all consolidated at first. But for me to get all the tanks in here the way I wanted them, building my own racks was pretty much the only way to go. Gives you a full.
Yeah, Mountaintop said.
Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, Mountaintop said he's got to go, so just want to say goodbye and just hit me up on those white clouds and we'll talk about that. But glad to have you with us, Mountaintop.
Absolutely. Have a good night and good weekend, Mountaintop. But yeah, for me to get my tanks in this room how I wanted them exactly. The only way to do that was pretty much build my own racks and set them where I want them. So that's what I did. I see Otter Creek Aquatics says, yes, the oxygen will increase ammonia drastically if you get them from a fish store when they're only in a bag for an hour or so. Use a drip glycomation. Yeah, when you get them from a fish store, that's not usually too big a deal, because in the short amount of time you get the fish from the store to your house, not a whole lot's going to change. But you get some fish in the mail, and I was watching one of your videos earlier, Kendall, and I wasn't catching it all. I was listening to some of it, but I seen you had some issues with some fish you got in the mail and not doing so hot. Yeah, when you get fish in bags for days upon days, it can, be a pretty drastic thing, and definitely got to try to get the fish out of that environment as fast as possible and keep them healthy as can be. Let's see.
Yeah, Redneck says a half-hour float, net over bucket, dumping, and then plop. So he kind of uses the same system.
Yep, that's a good one. I think it's pretty universal around this whole fish community. All the knowledge is out there, and we're all just kind of, trying to absorb it all and do the best thing possible for our fish, keep our fish happy, and keep us happy.
Yeah, JCP Aquatics gave us an update on the game tonight. 4-1 Brewers in the bottom of the first. So for all you baseball fans, we got an update there on the what could be the last game of the National League Series, the division series there. So I'm sort of a Dodgers fan. I don't know why I'm being in Alabama. It seems crazy, but back when I was younger, I liked the Dodgers back when Ron Say, Steve Garvey. I'm giving away some of my age now, but Ron Say, Steve Garvey, Tommy Lasorda, back when the Dodgers were really good back in the day. So lately they've kind of come back some, so I've been excited to see that. So anyway, I'm kind of hoping the Dodgers will pull it out. Plus the Dodgers and the Red Sox, that would kind of be your classic World Series from way back, classic even.
Yeah, I'm not a real big baseball fan. I'm more of a football fan, but definitely been in the I've been hearing that a lot. Been in the news, baseball, and the World Series, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, Kendall's a Reds fan here. He didn't want anybody to hate on him, though. No, that's all right. Yeah, Steve Garvey was the father of our country, my Guppy Peter says. So we got us a whole nother conversation started now. But Kendall did say he got 14 dwarf neon rainbows from Aquatic Arts. A bag of 7 was upside down and swimming in circles. But they're doing good. So, okay, well, good. Glad they are. I haven't got a chance to watch that, but JCP said I don't look a day over 75. Well, thank you, JCP. Good to hear that, man. But it's good to know that you were able to. I guess all 14 are okay then. Kendall, is that what you're telling us?
I hope so. That's 14 rainbow fish sound kind of expensive. I hope that works out all right for you, buddy.
When you finally feel the degree of proficiency, things change every decade or so, and you unlearn and relearn. Keeps it interesting over the years. Okay, yeah, that's true. Once you think you got everything down, then somebody will come up with a better way to do it, right?
That's about right.
I agree 100%. Redneck's into NASCAR, he says. NASCAR is fine. I used to be more into NASCAR. I can age myself a little bit again by telling you that back when Cale Yarborough was racing and some of those guys back then, I was more into NASCAR back in that day.
Yeah, NASCAR is changing quite a bit now. It's kind of hard to watch NASCAR, and they're sponsored by Monster now, which is to me just odd, because when I started watching NASCAR, it was a Winston Cup, and for it to be Monster, it's just kind of weird.
Yeah, it was Winston Cup back when I was first into it too, and of course at Talladega, you had the Talladega 500, then you had the Winston 500, which were the 2 races at Talladega here in Alabama. So.
Yeah. All right, Rick. So one other thing I wanted to touch on too was since you do have some live plants in your tanks, what kind of light cycle are you running on your lights there on your tanks in your fish room?
Yeah, well, I'm sort of running a cycle that I need to probably to cut it back a little bit. I'm running a long cycle. I'm running almost 12 hours of light, which I know that's too long, and I'm probably need to cut it back. I've done that sort of out of convenience for myself, because depending on my work schedule, you know, sometimes I go in early, sometimes I go in late, and so usually by having it on from like they're about 8 to 8 is about what they are. They're off a little bit because of the way the timer does, but anyway, that sort of helps me, because then if I go in, you know, later, I can in the morning, or if I go in early, then I'll have some time in the afternoon. So it's really a convenience thing more than anything else. So anyway, that's what I run, and like I said, I know it's a little too long, but my algae hadn't gone out of control. Now, as we've noticed the last time I had a live stream, my duckweed really likes the light, as you mentioned to me before. So maybe if I did a little bit something different, maybe maybe I wouldn't have such a duckweed invasion here. But anyway, what about you? What do you do?
Well, I don't know what you're going to do different on that duckweed. I mean, duckweed, once you got duckweed, it's pretty hard to get rid of that. Unless you get some goldfish. I told you to pick up some goldfish, so that'll take care of your duckweed problem. But yeah, I'm surprised you don't have issues with algae running your lights as long as you do. I know, and I'm not sure on the output on your aqua neats that you're running, but on these 4-foot LED shop lights that I got, they're probably only 6-8 inches off the top of the tanks. Even the one on the top row is even closer. And I know if I run anything more than about 9 hours, 10 hours of straight light, I will get algae. It'll start getting green spot algae on all these tanks. So what I did to kind of combat that, and also to make it more convenient for me, is I break the light cycle up into 2 parts. And I have it come on in the morning right about the time I get out of bed, and it runs for about 4 hours or so. So it gives me a chance in the morning to get up and get around for work, come down here and check on the fish, feed the fish, do all that good stuff. Go to work, and then sometime around 10 or 11 o'clock, I can't remember the exact programming I got on the timer, but lights go off for about 4 or 5 hours and come back on just before I get home from work. So, and then they go on until about 8 o'clock, and I got them overridden tonight just so they stay on. But yeah, I do that. So kind of 2 parts, 2 reasons why I do that. I do the light cycle interrupted because I heard it was a way to curb the algae growth. If you want to stay consistent, to stay away from algae, and if you get too long of a duration of a light period, it seems like the algae kind of takes off. So for me, breaking it up into the 4 hours works really good to keep the algae pretty much non-existent. I don't see any algae in any of these tanks since I switched over to this new light cycle time. But also works real good too for me as a fish keeper. When I'm not here, the lights are off. When I'm here, the lights are on. So I get to spend the most amount of time down here in the fish room, checking out my fish, enjoying my fish, doing my maintenance, all that stuff. So yeah, I break it up, and it seems to work pretty good for me. I looked it up, and I found a little bit of information on it, but I just said, oh, I'll just try it and see what happens. And so far so good.
Yeah, that's good. I heard some people question for you, and I don't know, somebody in the chat may even know better than either of us do. But is there anything with the fish, you know, because they're used to, in their natural habitat, of course, they'd have sunlight and daylight and night, you know, and all that. And I've heard some people that even talk about how they, when they're doing their lighting system, that they have it like shorten up as it goes and like mimic the seasons and things like that. Does anybody think, not saying that whoever said that is, you know, full of it or anything, but that, you know, does it seem to make a difference? Do anybody here really know if that would really have any effect on the life cycle of the fish or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that answer. Hopefully someone in the chat has an idea, but I personally, from what I see, I mean, I don't see any difference in my fish's behavior. I kind of compare it to, I mean, like you said, in nature, you know, the sun's out and then it's out and goes out, but it also in nature, there's clouds that roll in and it gets dark and it storms. So, I mean, I think it kind of mimics nature in a certain sense. And I normally, if there's not a light on down here in the basement somewhere, I usually leave the light on this 90 on for the majority of the day. It's the only light down here that's not on a timer, and it kind of creates some side light, so they're not totally in the dark when the lights are out. But yeah, I haven't noticed any ill behavior from the fish breaking up the light cycle.
That's funny you say that, because Aquarium Cop just says some days I keep it off all day like it's a cloudy day. Welcome to the chat too, Aquarium Cop. We didn't get to say hello when you first came on, but we're glad to have you here.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here with us, Aquarium Cop.
Yeah, I joke and to myself, I was thinking to myself, maybe it was even last night that I came into the room for something and the lights were already off. They're off behind me now, as you can see. And I flicked the light on, and I got something, I turned the light off, and I think, well, I'm probably freaking these fish out. And I thought, well, it's just like there's a storm and there's some lightning going on, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of a fan of switching it up with my fish. I mean, you don't want to let them get too comfortable in there. I mean, you want them to be comfortable, but, you know, you also don't want them to be all skittish and running from you. And I think switching the light up on them and kind of throwing them little curveballs here and there. My kids are always down here making noise. It kind of makes the fish get used to it a little bit better. And, you know, it's, to me, having a fish that's kind of sociable, that when you walk up to the tank, they're hungry, ready to eat, you know, glad to see you. I get more enjoyment out of that than I'll compare it to, I kept piranhas for probably a good 3 years, and piranhas are cool. Red belly piranhas are cool because you can buy them, you know, like the size of a quarter for, you know, $5-10, and grow them up to 6-8 inches in like a year, and it's cool to watch them eat. But if they're not eating, they're a pretty shy fish for the most part. And most of the experience I've had with piranhas, they always hang back and don't want nothing to do with you, and it's just kind of a boring situation if your fish aren't interacting with you.
Yeah, I think 100%. I think it's fun to have the fish, you know, come to the tank and be happy to see you. And I was just thinking to myself that the piranhas were happy to see you because they were hoping you were dinner, maybe. But yeah, piranhas are contraband here. We can't have piranhas because our temperature is warm enough that they could actually could survive in the wild. So they don't sell piranhas here. So
yeah, so it's against the law. It's against the law for you to keep them in aquariums too, right?
Yes, it is. We can get pacu now, which is a relative of the piranha, I think, but we can't actually get the piranha.
Yeah, yeah, they wouldn't make it up here when the lakes freeze over. They'd be done. Water gets pretty cold up here.
Says that she sets her lights for about 2 hours in the morning and then 6 in the night. So she kind of does the same thing you do. I'd imagine that's probably how her schedule is, where she's up in the morning and can see them, and then at night she likes to have the lights on where she can enjoy them, which I understand that. Yeah. And you were about to convince me to change my light settings, and I may do that because I really think if I did something similar to that I could enjoy them more as well, you know, because the lights are out now and I'll be up for a little while longer tonight, you know, and the light will be out. So.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you know, I like doing what's best for the fish, but also in the same turn, I mean, if I don't set it up to where it's convenient for me, easy for me, simple for me, it's a lot harder for me to enjoy it. So I try to, anytime I try to design or do anything in the fish room, I try to set it up to where it'll be sustainable with the least amount of work, and it'll be the most enjoyment and not impede too much on my life, and I seem to have the most fun with it that way.
Yeah, it is. I think that's a good idea. Like I say, I think you're about to convince me to change mine. Not that you tried to convince me, but just listening to it, convincing. It's convincing me anyway. So, yeah, I think Otter Creek had to leave. He's out of here. He got a hotel for the weekend, so he's going swimming. So that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Like a good time.
Let's see here. What else did we miss here? Talking about aquatic arts. He got him from Aquatic Arts.
We welcome Fish Tropic to the stream. Thanks for being here, Fish Tropic.
No, they're new here. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. He's been in here a little bit, but I didn't. Up here, he mentioned Mountain Dew. I guess we were talking about NASCAR. up there, and he was talking about Mountain Dew. But we didn't welcome you. Good to have you here, Fish Tropic.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us.
Goldfish and silver dollars. Aquarium Cop said that'll help me get rid of my duckweed. So silver dollars will eat the duckweed pretty well too. That would be something I would be more inclined to get over goldfish, probably. Not that I have anything against goldfish, but
yeah, silver dollar is definitely a pretty cool fish.
Yeah, I would be more inclined to add that to some tanks than I probably would. I probably wouldn't add goldfish. I'd have to have a separate tank and just take the duckweed and dump in there for the goldfish to eat or something, probably. Maybe I'll get me a pond when it gets to be the summertime and get some goldfish and have them out there and then bring them in for the wintertime or something. I don't know.
There you go. That's a good idea, Rick. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm building me a pond in the spring. So I seen Top Secret Aquatics says, hope y'all have a good night. Got some fish studies to do. See y'all again. So yes, take it easy, Top Secret Aquatics. Thanks for joining us, and we will catch you next time.
Yep, thanks for being here. Heirloom Aquatics just showed up. Current USA makes a light that has an automatic sunrise and sunset setting where the light dims on and off to mimic nature. Also has lighting mode that's really nice. Huh. Current USA, is that the brand?
Must be. Or maybe he meant current. Maybe they meant currently USA. Maybe USA is the brand.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, though. That's some innovating programming there to mimic the sunsets and all that stuff. Mimic nature.
Yes, it's current USA or it is USA. Heirloom. We'll get this sorted out in a minute. They're gonna get a link to it, so that's great. Yeah, Aquarium Cop spoke up and said he feeds once a day and they know it, so they don't run to the top every time I'm near the tank, which is often. They pick all day, so I don't get old food issues. And he mentioned he lives in a apartment, so they're not afraid of him because he's right there with them all the time.
Okay, Current Lighting is a great brand. So that is the brand, Current Lighting. Huh, I never heard of that.
Also, looking back up in the chat just a little bit, Redneck said that they'll let us have piranhas here in Texas. So maybe that's just an Alabama thing. I don't know. That's what they've told me, though. I've not researched that myself. So,
I would imagine it was probably something to do with if your climate in your area would sustain a piranha over winter, then you definitely would not want to have those in your local waterways, because if they, it'd probably be hard to happen, but if they are in your local waterways and start spawning, I could see piranhas wiping out pretty much everything in local waterways for sure. So,
right.
How much different is the climate in Alabama and Texas? I guess Texas is a pretty tall state. Towards the north could be a little bit cooler.
Right. I think it's fairly similar climate. I know there's a little cooler to the north and probably a little warmer to the south, but maybe at a band where we're pretty much the same, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I was in red belly piranhas for a while. They're interesting fish. They're kind of boring, but it's cool to watch them grow. It'd be cool to spawn them. I always thought it'd be cool to spawn piranhas, but I don't think it's happened very, very often in aquarium hobby. I know some people have done it successfully, but it's not something that happens very easy. So probably quite the feat to get that to happen. But they're kind of a cool fish to watch grow up, and definitely a cool fish. I used to feed mine frozen shrimp out of the freezer, thaw the shrimp out, and just drop them in the tank, and they'd kind of roll and tear it up, and they don't take no time at all to eat some food. They got some pretty sharp teeth, but I never got into feeding them feeder fish. Never did that.
Yeah, looks like Sandy's going to leave us for now. Her phone battery's dying, so she says good night. Good night, Sandy. It's good to have you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Speaking of that, I think I'll plug my laptop in here. How are you doing on battery? Are you plugged in, Rick?
Yeah, I plugged mine in earlier. I knew that would probably run into a problem if I didn't. So, yeah, current lighting is a great brand. Aquarium Cop says. What do you do I think we're probably pretty similar in this. But tell me, how do you breed your fish, Brandon? I mean, how do you go about it? I know they do the breeding themselves, but how do you keep them to breed?
Yeah, I pretty much just I just colony breed all my fish, all my live bears. I'm probably going to change that because I do have some fish like in this 90, these white cloud mountain minnows and these zebra danios they're showing spawning behavior in here, and I mean they can probably breed in a community setting, but the little eggs, or when the eggs hatch, the fry are definitely going to probably get wiped out. So I got a few more tanks down here I'm setting up. I'm probably going to species only tanks in those, and probably maybe pull a couple males, couple females, throw them in a tank with some nice vegetation and let them spawn. But yeah, currently all my tanks are colony breeding tanks, and like I said earlier, I just let them go at it. I put guppies and platies together, and guppies and swordtails together. I pretty much got guppies and everything, and then platies and swordtails mixed in there, so they're not interbreeding. But yep, definitely colony breed. I like kind of goes back to the simplistic and less work sort of thing. When I first started having guppy fry, a lot of guppy fry, I got all excited, started pulling all the guppy fry out, putting them in fry tank, and just realized it was a lot of work and not really a whole lot of more advantage as opposed to a colony breeding setup. You start pulling fry out and moving them around, and you can fatten them up and grow them faster because you got a bunch of little fry. You can feed them some brine shrimp or a little Daphnia, and cram their bellies full, and they get growing fast. But it turns into a lot of work when you're moving all the fish around. So I kind of eased into the colony thing, and I like it. They just do their thing, and I kind of go through and call out what I'm not looking for as far as characteristics go, and throw them in here. And hopefully, for too long, I'll have some nice thriving colonies of all the traits that I want in my fish. So, what about you, Rick? I'm pretty sure you probably do the same thing, don't you? Colony breeding.
I do. Yeah, that's primarily what I do. I've just got several tanks set up, and keep each different strain of guppy I have in different tanks. Of course, I have a few swordtails, and got a few things in there with those that won't breed. I've got an antler tank, but all of mine are pretty much colony bred. Maybe later on, I'm probably going to get some smaller tanks, and I may try to do some specific breeding where I'll pull out a specific male and try to put some young female in there and try to get some of the like some specific color, specific trait that I'd like to get, and maybe do a little bit of that on the side in a separate tank. But right now, basically, are all colony bred, everything I've got.
All right. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Bob Kaler's Fish Hobby. I appreciate this. This is a nice comment. He said, "You guys are a good team. You play well off of each other, and that helps a lot in streams." We really appreciate that, Bob. I know me and Rick we haven't jumped in real hardcore on this whole collab thing, but we've definitely put some effort forward, and we're going to try to get better every week. And appreciate the kind words of support, and thanks for coming here and hanging out with us. And no, we are trying to get better, and we do appreciate you, Bob.
Yeah, Aquarium Cop here says in the 80s, he would get fish free, mainly piranhas. He'd grow them up, and then the store would give him store credit for the large piranhas. He did it about 10 years and almost never spent a dime. That was fun. I bet it was, Aquarium Cop. I would enjoy that.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to make money doing that, because it seemed like when I bought the piranhas, I'd pay like $10 for them, and they'd be like a quarter size. And I grow them up to, I got some like 6-7 inches, and I called my local fish store to take them back, and he said he'd give me $5 for them. So I'm glad you got to do that, because my local fish store seems like when they get that big, that nobody wants to mess with them anymore. They just want to sell them young and be done with them. I see Aquarium Cop did say he agrees with Bob, so thank you very much, Aquarium Cop. We really appreciate that. Like I said, me and Rick are trying, so it's good to hear that you guys agree. and supporting us.
Looks like Heirloom tried posting the link, but a moderator has to approve it.
Oh.
Doesn't look like any of our moderators are here.
Well, I'm here.
Yeah, you're here.
How do I approve it? You got any idea? Any information there, Heirloom Aquatics, how I would approve it? I am a moderator, but I don't.
I forgot about that. You're a part of the stream here. I forgot you were a moderator too.
I don't see where I can approve anything, but I will look around here.
Maybe try putting it in there and then putting a dot where the dot would go or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, not sure about that. We'll have to work on that.
Yeah, we'll get that figured out.
Heirloom, if you want to email it to me at BamAquaticsFish at gmail.com, then I can probably put it in there maybe.
Well, what do you think, Rick? How long have we been going live here? We're past an hour, aren't we?
Oh, yeah, we're to an hour and 34 minutes maybe.
Holy smokes. Aquarium Cop said it was an Asian exotic fish store, electric cats, snapping turtles, etc., arowana, ostrich, pretty much anything that took a while to grow. Yeah, I know there is in the aquarium hobby, there's a lot of people that are only into like the predatory fish, and that's a big deal. And they get a lot of money for those. Some of the marijuanas go for crazy money. But yeah, predatory fish are cool. I like breeding live bears personally.
Yeah, I'm kind of into live bears too, but we've talked a little bit about, I'm going to try to get into a few of the more wild type live bears. You already have some there with your swordtails, and I can't remember how to say that the Dodekii or
The Xenotaka diadri. I believe.
Diadri. Eventually, I'll get that. I mean, I'm going to have to fish, and I'll have to learn how to say the name if I do end up getting them, which I think I probably will. I think that'd be a good first step into some of the more wild type live bears. But anyway, yeah, that's something I'd like to get into. What are you guys thinking will be your next thing into fish? Like I mentioned on another stream, I think it might have been when I was sending a message or commenting on one of Brandon's posts. I think maybe I mentioned that my list keeps getting longer and longer, and it does. I've got like the rainbow fish, and of course some of the live bears, some of the mountain minnows, some plecos, some more cories, eventually maybe some killifish, some angelfish I'm about to have. So there's a lot of different things. So
yeah, I see Bob Kaler says here he found out today he's going to get 6 to 7 Scipia multipunctatus Kiersfish, and that is, I believe that's a Gadiad. Pretty positive. Where are you going to get those from, Bob? I got a guy in my local fish club. His name's John. He's actually a chairman on the American Live Bear Association, and he's got a fish room. I'm going to be doing a tour pretty soon over there. He's got about 50 tanks in his basement, and he's got like a plethora of Gadiads, Scyphia, Caracodons, and all kinds of different Gadiads. And he's the one that I got these Xenotakas from, these Diadri, and they're pretty cool. There's also another guy that he's kind of friends with, and I've heard about him. I haven't met him personally, but he's out of Chicago. I believe his name's Anthony Powerkowski or something like that, and he's on YouTube here, and he's heavily into Gadiads. So yeah, the Gadiads are a really cool fish. They're a live bear. Pretty much all of them are live bears, and they're a little bit different in live bears as opposed to guppies, where when they have their fry are larger than typical live bear fry, and it's because they when they're born they still actually have an umbilical cord, unlike egg sac like most of your live bear fish. So they're pretty much all the Gadiads are native to Mexico, and there's a lot of them that are really rare. The fish hobby's keeping those Gadiads going because in their natural waterways. They're not making it down in Mexico. There's really no organizations down there taking care of them. So pretty much the fish hobby is what's keeping a lot of those gadillas going, and that was kind of what got me into them. I think it's cool. Fish is not very popular, kind of on the rare side, and they're also live bears. I like that. So yeah, Rick, definitely take a look at some gadillas if you're into live bears and you want to get into some rare fish. And Bob Kaler says, yes, the gadillas. Andrew is his name, Andrew. We talked about it for maybe 6 months. There is one angler he has it on video. I never heard of it. Yeah, I'm not sure on the anglers, but I know he does have some beautiful fish, and some of those gadillas are pretty hard to come by, and some of them are kind of hard to keep, and you want to keep those definitely in species-only tanks. You don't want those mixed mashing, breeding together. Some of them can breed together, but yeah, definitely a cool fish, the gadilla. I think it's gonna gain popularity over time.
Well, that's some good advice. I'm going to check those out then. I haven't really looked at those yet, but I would definitely like to get into some different type live bears. So that might be something else I look at.
Yeah, Aquarium Cop says there's like a trout and a guppy in one. They are. There is actually a gadilla. I believe it's called Furcidens. Says their common name is a trout gadilla, and they look kind of like a trout. They got some yellow and some black speckling on them, and very cool fish. JCP Aquatics says hatchet fish are cool. I do like hatchet fish. I don't have any, but they are interesting looking for sure.
Heirloom Aquatics, I didn't seem to get an email. BamAquatics, all one word, BamAquaticsFish@gmail.com. So I don't know. If you sent it to that, then I don't know why I haven't gotten it yet. But so what's everybody else have that's Graham Copp's loving is Amica Splendens?
Yep, those are gadillas as well. Those are some of them. Amica Splendens are kind of a little bit popular. I'd say the Amica Splendens and the Xenotaka diadri. They actually used to be called Xenotaka eiseni. I don't know if you search them up. Common name for those is red tail split fin. Technical name used to be Xenotaka eiseni, San Marcos location. Now they, within the last couple of years, I guess, have changed the name to Xenotaka diadri, which is a lot harder to pronounce. But yeah, there are the fish auction I was just at a couple weeks back when I ran into Jeremy from Sergeant Tanks. He actually picked up a pair, I believe, of Xenotaka. They were not the same location as the ones I have, so they are slightly different. But he's into those fish too. And I know, Rick, you were saying Select Aquatics website. Greg Sage has got a lot of gadillas out there that you can pick up. So definitely check him out.
Yeah, I've been in communication with him on those, so that's something I'll check out.
I could take you over here and show you mine if you want to see him, Rick.
Yeah, let's see him. All
right, hang on here. Let me get this light over there. Light him up a little bit better.
So Bob said there's one egg layer that he has. He's got a vid on it. He's never heard of it. So you have to check that out too, Bob.
All right, bear with me here. Flip the camera around. And down here, they're kind of the males. The male has some cool color. There's the male. He's okay. Hang on a second. I'm going to take this camera off and just hand it. Hold it by hand. So that is the male right there. You can see he's got some yellow on his tail. not coming in very good on this. That light's kind of bright. But
Yeah, I can see the tail there. It looks great.
yeah, his color and his coloring, it's hard to tell. He colors up really good when I feed him a lot of live food, but he's got kind of a yellow on the end of the tail, and then just in front of that, it turns into like a blue. So they're pretty cool. If you look them up on the internet, they're obviously a lot better looking than these here, just because this camera's not coming through too well. But yeah, I got a trio of those, and both females are gravid. They have gravid, definitely have gravid spots on them, and hopefully I'll get some fry, but I haven't had any fry yet. So
That's cool. How long have you had them?
They definitely don't breed as fast as guppies do. I've had them probably about 3 months, but I have moved them a number of times. And I know, when you move fish, you kind of stress them out. So.
And you've got them in the 20-gallon tank?
That's actually just a 10-gallon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a 10. It's like one of those Tetra half-round 10 gallons.
Okay. Yeah.
Just got it given to me for free, so couldn't pass that up.
Yeah, Aquarium Cop talked about the hatchets with a camouflage pattern. So they're gorgeous, but couldn't think of the name. And JCP came out with marble hatchets. So that's what he's talking about. He said the marble hatchets are pretty cool fish too. So that's the great thing and the terrible thing about being in this community is you come up with so many different fish you want to check out, and you find them and you say, oh man, I got to have that, and then you got to have something else. So it just grows and keeps going and going and going, so.
Yep. Then you got to have more tanks for the fish. You got to have room for the tanks. Pile it up.
Just a never-ending cycle, isn't it?
It is.
Well, we've been going a while here. We've been going for about an hour and 45 minutes, so our numbers are starting to drop too. Not that you guys aren't quality guys, but we've been going a while, so it may be about time to close it down here for tonight. What do y'all think?
I think I'm with you, Rick. I think that's pretty good. Hour 45 minutes. That's a pretty long stream for a Friday night. It's 9:45. I haven't gotten any notifications, so LRB must not have went on tonight. He must have did his live stream earlier, not done a live stream here this late. I haven't seen any notifications. Have you seen any notifications, Rick?
I hadn't, so I don't guess he has. JCP said he's got some hatchets in his main tank. Do you have any videos or anything that you talk about and show your hatchets before you go? He's about to head out too, so Aquarium Cop said he keeps a magnifying glass by the Amica Splendens tank because he's in love with their speckling and shine. So
yeah, they're pretty fish. I mean, they're probably not popular in the hobby as much as bright colored fish would be, just because a lot of people go to the local fish stores and they want the fish that are bright and stand out. And these Gadias aren't really. I mean, there's some pretty cool looking Gadias, but for the most part, you're not going to walk past. Your average person isn't going to walk past a Gadia tank and be like, "Oh my God, look at these fish." If you don't know the story behind them, where they came from, how rare they are, how sparse they are, how some of them are extinct in the wild, the majority of them are. That's where I find the enjoyment in keeping them, is knowing that they're not their average fish. They're a little bit different. I guess I'm doing my part in the fish hobby to try to keep these fish going on, and hopefully I can breed some and pass them out, introduce them to other people, let them enjoy them.
That sounds like a great plan. That's also what I'm trying to do. I was looking at some of the ones that Greg has, and some of them, are on the brink of extinction also. So just kept in the hobby more than anything else. They're not sure if they're even still in the wild. So that is something great to do to kind of keep that species alive. You have a small part in doing something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and for all you guys left in the chat, let us know in the chat, or for everybody watching the replay, if you made it this far, let us know what you think about me and Rick doing this collaboration. like I said earlier, we're trying to get some people to come on as guests. So if you're interested in that, try contacting one of us, and we'll work the details out. But we would definitely appreciate your guys' feedback on what you think about what me and Rick are doing here, and we're going to try to keep it fresh every week and come up with some good topics and support the fish fam. Everybody support everybody and have a real good time. So let us know in the chat or comments below what you guys think.
Yeah, that's right. We want to just we're doing this to have some fun and kind of get together and share the love, just like Aquarium Cop just said he's going to spread the love to Shell Shocked Aquatics. Yes, I've watched several of his videos as well, and he's a good guy, and that's where he got his Amicus splendens from. So
nice. Yeah, I didn't even know about him, so I'll have to check that channel out. So it's good.
Yeah, he's a neat guy. He's got some pretty good comedy in his videos too that I like.
Cool.
Thanks, Aquarium Cop. We're a great stream team, he says. So
that's good. Like I said, we try. So I'm glad you guys noticed and appreciate it, and we appreciate you guys.
Well, we're going to shut it down, guys. We thank you again for joining us. Thank you if you're here watching the replay and you've made it this far. Then congratulations, you made it all the way to the end. And we're glad you were here. Everybody live and watching the replay, just please leave us a comment. If you haven't liked it, go ahead and like it. We're going to do this again next week, Friday, 7 o'clock. I believe that's right, Brandon. We've said that right.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
We're going to be on this channel.
Yeah, we might not run it so long next week because everybody will probably be back to regular business, and you know, if we're going on at 9:30 when LRB comes on, we're probably going to want to hop off and get over on that stream too. So we might not run it so long next week, but yeah, it's going to be on my channel, Maple Street Aquatics. So tune in next Friday, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, and we will live stream again.
Thank you, Aquarium Cop, for past live streams. He's sharing it on his channel, so we appreciate that. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us, and I guess we'll see you again, if not before. Check out both our channels, Maple Street Aquatics, as Brandon said, and of course here on BamAquatics. We'll see you next Friday. Hopefully we'll see you before that, though. Y'all have a good night.
All right, everybody. Have a good night and a good weekend. Peace.